I love New York. And what I mean by that is I love New York as a setting, especially in books. So if you ever give me a book and it's based in New York, I will probably bump the book 1 star up just because it's in the city of New York. I know it's biased, but I'm just going to be honest. That's how my mind works when it comes to New York. And I'll give you the reason why. So when I grew up, I lived in a small town and there wasn't much there. And the city of New York, the first time I visited New York, I was probably like 11 and I thought it was amazing. It felt like it was the only place that I felt there was more opportunities. It felt like I felt when I stepped into New York that I felt that I could dream. So, without further ado, I wanted to introduce the 4 romance books that I really love that are based in New York. So, without further ado, let's get into the video. So, the first book I want to introduce is The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. This book is about Clementine West, who is burying her head in work as a book publicist, and she inherits her aunt's apartment in New York. This apartment is not a normal apartment. It allows people to travel back in time 7 years in the past as well as 7 years in the present. During her time in the 7 years in the past, she meets a man standing in her kitchen 7 years in the past, and he ends up being like the love interest in it. So it's kind of interesting because she gets to see him 7 years in the present as well in the past. One reason I really love this book is, and I'm gonna probably be saying this for every single book, is the author is a really good writer. She's a very comedic writer where it's very poetic, but it's also very entertaining, funny. I love the dialogue between the two characters. Every time I read this book, it feels like a warm hug. I know it sounds weird, but that's what it feels like. Every time I pick this book up, I want to dedicate every year to reading this book because it feels very nostalgic. It feels very I remember one time I went to a book club that had this book, and I thought because it was a romance book, there wasn't going to be much of a dialogue. But this book emphasizes cooking, and we were able to have such a meaningful conversation of the different types of foods that we would eat when we were kids and throughout our life. And because of that, we were able to understand the depth of it. Because I don't want to give any spoilers, but there's a lot of grief, but she handles it in such a great way where it's very lighthearted, but it's also deep at the same time. So moving on to the next book. The next book that I want to discuss is You Again by Kate Goldbeck. So this book is this book is kind of like a modernized version of When Harry Met Sally. So when Ari and Josh first meet, the wrong kind of sparks fly. They hate each other. Ari is a free spirit struggling comedian, likes to keep things casual. Josh is a born and bred New Yorker and is very ambitious to take his culinary world by storm and find the one. They have nothing in common except when they happen to be sleeping with the same women. So they end up hating each other for a while, and you see them cross paths numerous times. But then years later, they both end up having to recover from different breakups. They end up befriending each other. So I would say for this book, I really loved this book because it wasn't just about the romance. And in fact, I would definitely reconsider your expectations. Even though this is marketed as a romance book, I wouldn't say that there's much romance because majority of the time, the characters hate each other. So it is more witty and more funny. And I really love the characters because one is a very free-spirited, I can do what I want type of character. And the other one is very pretentious. He is grown up in privilege and he just wants to follow a certain path. I really love their dialogue. I think it's super funny. I also went to a book signing with Kate Goldbeck, and she talked about how she lived in New York, and she was talking about all of the different places that she visited when she was in New York or stayed in New York. So you're able to see the city for what it is. There are characters that you run into, it's not just about the two characters or talking with each other. It's also about their supporting characters, their friends, them visiting New York, and you get to see how New York runs and operates. And I just thought it was really cool that she was able to integrate some of her specific memories into this book. So for the next book I have is One Star Romance. It's by Laura Hankin. And for this book is about Natalie and Rob. Natalie is a messy artist. She is also a author, and Rob is a rigid academic. They both end up meeting each other because both of their friends get engaged with each other, so they meet each other at a wedding. But shortly after the ceremony, Natalie learns that Rob wrote a 1-star review of her new novel, and ever since that, they've been enemies. Natalie and Rob, they're friends are still married, so you see their progression of their lives individually and how their careers progress and how they interact with each other throughout the trajectory of their lives and their friends' lives. I really liked that Natalie was an author or was in the creative arts because I'm currently an author, so I really liked how you were able to see from her starting how she was in the future, as well as Rob. And it's interesting because you see like how they're, again, I would paint this as a literary fiction. I wouldn't say that this is a good romance book, but it is labeled as one. However, I really liked that it kind of showed the reality of how people could have their lives figured out, or like in your 20s, you're expected to figure everything out. You're expected to have a really good career and all of these things, get married, have friends. And then you realize that a lot of it's kind of BS and you don't really know what you're doing. And I feel that sometimes it also feels like if we don't hit a certain level of success in your 20s, that you're failing in life. And our life is beyond our 20s. People live till they're 80. Some people find success in their 40s, and like success is very different between each person, and that's valid too. On to the next book. The next book I want to talk about is Love Interest by Clare Gilmore. I know that I'm going to be on repeat when I say this, but I absolutely love her writing. It is so easy to follow through. So this book is about Casey. She is a finance expert working in Manhattan. She wonders if the open project manager position at her company, which is a magazine publication company, is assigned to like level up her career, but it gets passed over in favor of a board's chairman's son. So she's obviously pissed about the situation because she's worked so hard to maintain it. The chairman's son is Alex Harrison, and he's a Harvard-educated person, and everyone loves him except for Casey. But when they're thrown in the same project together, they end up having, like you guessed it, feelings for each other, a mutual respect for each other. I really enjoyed this book. I really liked the male interest. I feel a lot of male interests tend to be very grumpy at first or moody. I really liked this character, even though the main character, she hates him because he got it out of nepotism. He got the job out of nepotism. I felt he was still a very respectable person. He understood the reason why she was upset, and it never felt like he took it out on her, or he still took the criticism with grace. And you don't really see that with a lot of characters where they are able to handle those type of situations well. It felt like he was very emotionally intelligent, and I just really liked seeing their dynamic with each other. These are all the books that I love based in New York. If you have any recommendations of any books that you like in New York, please put it in the comments below. You let me know your opinions, but I'll see you in the next video.